Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of What's Your Tune. It is evening. It's nighttime already, and it is freezing, so I am really cold. Anyway, this is a question episode. Somebody sent me a question asking me what they need to do to become the best choir director they can be. And so I wanted to answer that for you. First things first, I think the most important thing as a choir director is to have God be a part of your ministry. You can't do anything without God. God has given you this ministry. God has given you the talent. God has given you, the anointing. And without Him, you're nothing. I've been told, and I've heard a lot of times people say that you can have the most beautiful voice out there, but if you don't have the anointing, it's as good as nothing because you need God's anointing. You need to be in sync with God. So that's the very most important thing. It's such a big blessing when you get feedback from everyone and from your pastor and everyone else that your choir did an amazing job because it was anointed. And this happened to us last Sunday, 2 Sundays ago. Wait, was it 2 Sundays? No, it was last Sunday. We went to this. We were invited to go to this other church that was pretty far away from here, and the choir made an effort to go, and we practiced. We had two practices, and then literally about 2 minutes before they called up the choir, I all of a sudden my head, all of a sudden this thought came into my head, and the thought was, switch the songs. Don't sing the songs you've practiced for 2 weeks. And my head was like, don't do that. Don't do that. Get that crazy thought away from your head because you've practiced these two songs. You've printed out copies of the lyrics. People have gone to practices. They've practiced them, and they're ready to sing the song. But then at the same time, the thought that came into my head was like, no, switch the song, do something different. And I've gotten accustomed to these thoughts, and I know that it's not just me thinking it; it's God putting the thought in my head. And so I said, "Okay, God, if this is your will, I'm going to switch the songs." And not only were we a blessing, they asked us to actually do two songs, even though we were only going to do one song, and everybody was blessed. And afterwards, everybody came. Everybody kept coming up to me and going, "Oh, you guys were great. It was such a blessing." And well, it was actually all God because He's the one that told me to switch the songs, and He chose the perfect songs that were needed for that service. So all that story goes back to being in sync with God. Always follow His will. The second thing after that, I think, me personally, is the commitment. Not the commitment you have to give, but the commitment that being part of the choir requires. Sometimes people don't realize that this is a ministry. You sign up for this, and you have to, continue and be a part of it, and go to practices, and be used of God because you joined the choir or any kind of ministry that you join is you're joining it because you want to first of all do something for God and be used for God. So I think commitment is the next important thing. Not again, this is not for the choir director, although commitment is very important for you, but having the commitment of the rest of your choir really helps you out. Pray to Him and ask Him to give these people a burden for this ministry. That's all you can do. Because you're not, and I've said this before, you're not paying the choir members to come to practices. You're not paying them to sing during the services. You're not paying them to travel 2.5 hours, to sing. And so this is basically like a volunteer work. So you have to understand that, and You can't be pushy, and you can't be demanding, with them. But you just have to be able to do it the right way. You know, I can't be demanding with them because I know that in the end, I'm not, like I said, I'm not paying them to do all this. They're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. But what I can do is I can pray to God that God give them a burden to be a part of this ministry. And that, God will hear that, and God will give them a burden. And the third thing that I would say is, that you keep a communication open between you and your choir. Communication is so important, and this goes for everybody. Communication between you and God, between you and your pastor, and between you and your singers and your musicians and your choir. Communication is so important. People can't read your mind, and you can't read their mind as well. So communicating with them is just so important on so many levels. You have to learn how to say no as a choir director as well. You know, it's have your ears open, mind open for any suggestions from musicians, singers, drummers, everyone, and try out new things. It's okay to try out new things. But if there comes a moment where you get a suggestion from someone and you feel it from God that it's not something that you need to do, or it's not something that's gonna be good for your choir, you can say no. You need to have a backbone, and you need to be able to say no, and that's something that I've had to work with, all these years. And so again, have a connection with God, put God first. Two, be committed to your choir, and pray to God and ask God that the choir be committed to the ministry. Three, keep an open mind and keep communication between you and your singers. Tell them that you love them. Tell them that you appreciate them. But always remember to have a backbone. And when I say backbone, is to be firm, and that sometimes it all can't be everybody's way. You have to put your foot down sometimes. So it's a balance that you need to learn, and little by little, as time goes by, you get better and better at finding that balance. And sometimes if something is not working, don't just ignore it. If you're having issues with the choir member that's not showing up, don't ignore it. Let them know, hey, I appreciate all you do, but I'm seeing that you're not coming to choir practices. Is there something we can do? Or talk to them, communicate with them, because like I said, you can't read their mind, they can't read your mind. In closing, being the best choir director takes practice, and it takes years and years and years, yeah, of practice to be able to balance everything out, you know. But as long as you put God first, pray, um, ask God to give you the wisdom to talk to your choir members, and ask God to give them the burden to want to be participate and keep things fun, keep a connection with them. Speak to them if you have any kind of problems. Talk to them. As long as you do all these little things, little by little, you'll become the best choir director you can be. And like I said at the beginning, there's not like a top part where you can say, okay, I'm the best that I can be. I can't get any better. No, that's not true. You can always be a better choir director. You can always be a better singer. You can always be a better musician. So there's no top. The sky's the limit. And as soon as you get past the sky, you'll see that there's a whole universe out there, and that you can never get to the end of it because it's an infinity out there. So I hope this answered your question. If you have any other questions for me, anybody out there, send me a message, and I will go ahead and look through your questions and answer them in the best way that I can. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Stay warm if you're in an area where it's cold outside like it is here. And I will see you all next time here on What's Your Tune.